I really believe that the energy that we're experiencing, that we have, directly impacts our business.
I know it's the fear for me of that fear of failure, that as women, you have something that you want to offer and you want to give, but what if I fail?
Will people understand what I'm saying? Will people understand my transition here? So that was my fear that I needed to overcome.
Nothing scares me, and I say that with certainty. However, there's confusion. And this is what I'm wrestling with even right now.
The biggest thing that I came up against was imposter syndrome. Why would someone want to work with me? Why wouldn't they work with the late Bob Proctor or Tony Robbins? These people that have all these years of expertise and a huge amount of followers and clients and following.
That bridge of connection and allowing them to be able to have that openness to be able to learn. And so being able to honor everyone where they're at. So anyone who comes into my circle or into my space is not, okay, you need to do this and you need to learn how to be able to do that, is where is it coming from for you?
Hey everyone, it's Sophia from Sacred You. Thank you so much for being here. A quick message before we dive into today's discussion. You may have been watching our videos, but have not had a chance to hit that subscribe button. So if you have gained value from our conversations, from our channel, it would be so appreciated for us if you would hit that subscribe button below right now and even give us a like. What that means is not only does it allow us to grow our subscriber base, but it also allows us to bring in even more guests for you to listen to. And you will be one of the first ones to be notified. So please hit that subscribe button and let's get started on today's wonderful panel discussion. Welcome to our Ignite Your Inner Power panel discussions, wonderfully hosted by Sacred You. My name's Sophia, and of course I have the honor of not only being the co-creator of Sacred You, but today being the facilitator of this incredible panel discussion with all these amazing women who have given up their time to come and share their passion and their expertise. So today's topic is something close to my heart because I am an entrepreneur. And in this fast-paced world of entrepreneurship, igniting your business and empowering your future brings together all these wonderful women who have experience in all different aspects of business and are also wonderful visionaries to really discuss how we can really empower ourselves, empower our future, and empower our business. So before we go into the panel, let us introduce everyone. So can I ask Lesley, would you please like to say hello? Tell us a little bit about yourself and what interests you in today's topic.
Thank you, Sophia. I'm Lesley NASE, and that happens to be the name of my business as well. I work with professional women who are looking for something more in life. Usually it's transforming their belief or their work into what their heart truly wants. So, saying that, being here tonight to ignite your own unique talents and abilities are so needed on this planet at this time. And I feel it's important for all of us. I'm thrilled to be in this wonderful group of women to talk more about it and hopefully inspire the listeners to take some new ideas, new thoughts, and new way of walking in this world. Thank you.
Thank you, Lesley. Thank you. And Rollie, what about your beautiful self? Would you like to say hi and what interests you in our topic today?
I'll start with introducing myself as Gigadomi Gunkwe, which means talking feather woman. That is my spirit name that was gifted to me several years ago that I have the honor of being able to carry. But I'm also known as through my earth name, which is Rollie ALLAIRE. And so I work with women with anxiety, and I have for a number of years. It's actually been 24 years that I've actually been working in the social work services field. And so it's been a while that I've been working with women, but in the last 10 years, I don't remember how long that I've been in, 10 years that I've actually worked in. So in July will be my 10th year of being in business for myself. And in this past year, I have shifted working with the energy of the moon. So I actually work with women using all of my psychotherapy skills that I've been using for a number of years, but I combine that with using the energy of the moon and bring in the energetics of energetic healing, whatever it is that looks like. So using different types of modalities and pulling it all together under what I refer to as moon medicine, bringing us with the ebbs and flows of how the 8 phases of the moon and how the 12 cycles of the zodiac allow you to be able to move through this energetic piece in your life, and helps create those ups and downs, and helps more particularly women, helps us find those patterns that when the moon is in a particular cycle, for example, so like in a Pisces moon, which is a water moon, allows us to be able to like go into that emotional part of our being and not feel guilty or feel bad about the fact that I'm emotional today versus, oh, I'm like fired up and ready to go into Aries energy, fire energy, and that kind of thing. So really helping women find that balance of using that energy.
Oh, wonderful. We want to know more. So thank you so much for sharing that. And Jen, what about yourself? What brings you to our panel today?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm Jen Smith. I am from Illinois. I'm an empowerment coach and also a quantum healer. So I teach people how to do Reiki energy healing so they can begin their self-healing. And the empowerment coach is also very powerful. I help people remember who they are. And a lot of that has to do with whatever their goals are, starting with that, with business. Women who are in business and have been successful, sometimes they're searching for more fulfillment, very much where I was and how I got to my path. So I help people there, and I'm just honored to be here tonight. So thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us. And Sarah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me, Sophia. SARA ROCCISANO here. I am a world traveler, public speaker, author, founder of Emboldened Adventures. I'm also a grid worker, a light worker, and a way shower. The world I left 20 years in the Matrix in New York City, corporate America, I've now since walked away from and moving forward toward this new beginning of transformation for me. So I'm excited to be on this panel because I definitely think that this is a visionary collection of women, and we are tapping into the ethers knowing that there's big changes ahead, and the whole kind of collective is awakening and doing essentially what I did, walking away from it all, whether it's that career, the 9 to 5 job, that unhappy sort of existence, and now starting to explore and transform both spiritually, professionally, and personally. So I'm here for it, and I'm here to help as an encouragement platform that Emboldened Adventures is turning into being.
We look forward to hearing more about Emboldened Adventures. Thank you so much. And Cassandra, who's also joining us for the first time, welcome to our panel. Again, can I ask you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what interests you in our topic today?
Yeah, I want to thank you for putting this together, Sophia, and I feel really honored to be a part of this panel with all these beautiful women with powerful missions. You probably saw me nodding to all of your messages. I resonate with them, so it's so beautiful that we're co-creating this together. So I'm Cassandra Rosa from Toronto, Canada. I'm an intuitive life and business coach, and what lights me up is just helping spiritual entrepreneurs to go deep on their journey to finding clarity, conquering their fears, and creating an impactful business. And when it comes to this topic today, Ignite is a word that I really love to use. I actually have a program called Ignite Incubator. So it was perfect when Sophia and I connected, hearing about this panel. I'm like, this is the one I want to be a part of. And I just keep seeing this vision all year long about a bunch of powerful impactpreneurs coming together and creating almost like a revolution of making our own ripple effect that the world needs now more than ever. And I find that entrepreneurs or aspiring ones, they have journals and journals filled with plenty of different ideas of how they want to make a change in the world. So I feel like a part of my mission is helping people get those ideas out of their journal and bring them into reality.
Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from everyone. And of course, my name is Sophia. Like I said, I have the honour of co-creating Sacred You, but more importantly, because it's a platform for all these wonderful women to come and connect and share their experience. And with us today in the audience is the beautiful Sheila Marina and also Melissa, who will hopefully be able to share anything as well during our discussion. So let's get started into our questions. So can we start, and Lesley, with you, can I ask you, what was the biggest fear or uncertainty you had before starting your own business, and how did you overcome it?
What was the biggest fear or uncertainty that I had in starting my business? I think it's the fear, I know it's the fear for me, of that fear of failure, that as women, you have something that you want to offer and you want to give, but what if I fail? What if I am not doing what I want to do in this life? And so for me, I have to remember that life isn't that end goal. Life is that journey that has those ups and downs through it. So there are some wonderful, exciting times, and then there are some low times, but that's that expansion and contraction. So the expansion is the exciting times. The contraction is that time to go back within yourself and recreate.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's so very true. When we have that fear, it's time to go back and recreate everything. Thank you so much for sharing that, Lesley. And Rollie, what about you? Was there ever a time that you felt disconnected or was experiencing fear or uncertainty from your passion, from your business? And how did you overcome that?
So for me, it was huge. 10 years ago, when I started up my business, I was just coming off of being unable to work. So I had actually been under psychiatric care with my own anxiety and depression, and was really struggling with kind of being back out into the world. But one of the things that I had done during that healing time that I had was within the first 3 months, it was like, okay, I'm ready to go back to work. I'm ready to but only part-time. I know that I can only do part-time. And having come from the mental health field, it was like, I knew, and I was able to recognize that. However, my doctor at the time had said, no, you're not ready to go back. So then back into a plummet I went. So then it was like, okay, so the next 3 months when I went back in to see him again, it was like, okay, so now and he's like, so where are you at now? And I said, I think that I'm in a good place right now, but I think I need a little bit more time to really dive in deep into my own healing and figure out where I need to go next. And he said, perfect, that's exactly where you need to go. So then he allowed me that next 3 months of doing what it is that I needed to do. And then just before going back to see him again, because the way that our services work is that in order to see the psychiatrist, we have consults. We don't actually have ongoing, just because of where we are in our region. And so when I went back in for the third month, or the third time for the consult, one of the things that he says, are you ready? And I said, yes, I'm ready. But I had decided at that point, going in, before even going into the appointment, I said to my husband, he's going to tell me that I'm cleared to go back to work, that I can actually go and find work, but I don't want to go back into the general system. I don't want to go back into what it is that I was working, and all those crazy hours, and working with systems that I'm butting heads and not really working with the clients where they're at. And so then it was like, that's when it's like, he's then go ahead. I said, I think it's time for me to start my own practice, which is what I had intended to do when I went back to school years before that. And he said, then do it, and then jump at it. And so I've been working through and navigating that process. And now I'm exactly where it is that I want to be, working with energies and using holistic practices that doesn't allow me to have my fingers slapped, because it doesn't follow the college criteria of the college that I was tied to within my practice. yeah, so that was where, so that fear of not really knowing, am I going to be able to do this? I had a burnout. I wasn't doing okay. And so am I going to be okay doing that? Yeah, huge.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think a lot of people watching our video will be able to relate to that, especially as entrepreneurs and businesses. There is a huge chance of burnout. So thank you for sharing that, Rollie. And Jen, for you, would you like to share any fear or any time that you felt disconnected in following your passion? And how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I would say the biggest fear for me was not so much opening up a new business. That's what I was in the corporate world, and I had a lot of business background. My husband and I have an entrepreneurship business right now. My biggest fear really was resigning from the corporate world and moving into the spiritual business. Will people understand what I'm saying? Will people understand my transition here? So that was my fear that I needed to overcome. And to overcome that is to just get through it. So I would join organizations where I would have to talk every week just to get through that fear of speaking my truth. And so yeah, that was my biggest fear moving into this entrepreneurial space.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sharon. And Sarah, for you, especially, I know that you spent many years in Wall Street and all that environment. What was one of your biggest fears or uncertainty, and how did you overcome it?
The good news is nothing scares me. So I have very few fears in life, and I say that with certainty. I'm sure you can find something okay, fine, I'm scared of that. But generally speaking, no fear. However, there's confusion. And this is what I'm wrestling with even right now. And as you mentioned, Sophia, I was schooled in Wall Street. I come from an MBA background. I underwrote multi-million-dollar and billion-dollar deals. We approached deal making in such a way where we looked at cash flows and predictable cash flows, the future, terminal value, termination issues, writing contracts, getting approval from investment committees, making sure that this is ironclad in terms of an investment opportunity with the base case, worst case, and upside scenarios. So I was trained to think like a business person in the sense of financial models and business plans and the like. And so, Jen, making that transition from that matrix world to more of a spiritual world of trusting in the unknown and believing and intuiting and letting it flow. But what I'm realizing, and this is a long conversation I had last night, literally at 10 o'clock at night with my business advisor, who's awesome, by the way. I think what I'm wrestling with right now is an identity crisis because I was this hotshot, right, in New York City, doing it the way I was supposed to do it, the way that was the predefined plan, the way that global tier investment banks approach things or large scale renewable energy companies approach project financing and development. And now I'm going about it what the rest of the world would consider maybe potentially blue or uncharted territory. But knowing that this is my calling, which my business advisor was very clear to remind me that you took the leap of faith, you walked away and surrendered. And now the world, I'm most happy that I've ever been. I sold everything, I left it all. And now I'm growing anew as a more authentic person. So it's approaching it with different business principles, but trusting that there's something big here. And I just know it's going to be amazing.
Thank you for sharing that. And I love it how, it really is trusting that there is something big that's coming that we are creating. So thank you for that. And Cassandra, what about your beautiful self? Has there been anything that you feared, any uncertainty, anything that has taken you out of alignment with your passion? And
Yeah,
how
I think that there's Yeah, I think that there's so many fears that come up when you're starting the business because you're stepping into that unknown, especially when you're creating a business for the first time. I think the biggest thing that I came up against was imposter syndrome. Why would someone want to work with me? Why wouldn't they work with the late Bob Proctor or Tony Robbins? These people that have all these years of expertise and a huge amount of followers and clients and following. So the thing that really helped me to break through is I went to a seminar, and I know we are limited on time, so I'll just get to the breakthrough part of it. Really understanding that you just need to be a few steps ahead of someone to be able to share what your breakthroughs were, what helped you to make that transformation. So once I started to understand that and really connect with the prior version of myself that needed to know everything I knew in that moment, I was able to create something with that version of myself in mind. And it really helped me release the pressure of having to create something for someone outside of me and to prove myself. And I think that's really common when you start a business. I just created my offerings for a prior version of me.
Thank you so very much for sharing that you've lived a wonderful journey, an incredible life. And before we continue, I'd just like to take a moment just to honor everyone here, because you are all an inspiration, going through your whole journeys, having all the challenges that we do, but yet you're still here sharing your passion and helping people all over the world. So thank you. Lesley, talking about helping people, you help women transition from corporate roles to spiritually aligned businesses. But I'd love to know from your experience, what common mindset blocks do you see in this transition and how do you overcome them?
Common mindset block. Sometimes I don't know that you have to gain clarity. And lots of times they're still caught up in that professional life, that always achieving, always going, and not so much that trust factor that this is what I want and this is where I have to step in. So I don't know if there's a particular common block per se, as much as going deeper within the awareness and going deeper within the body. It's a very, in the shamanic world and the body-centered world, the modalities that I use, it is really about, where do you feel that in your body? How do you feel within there? Sometimes it's almost like igniting, like you said before, but finding out, first of all, there may be a spot that's so excited that you never tapped into before, because you have this pain over here that's talking to you. So what is that pain? And it's not always trying to release it or let go of it, but to find more harmony within your body. And so I think that maybe is the commonality that we talk about, is finding harmony in what you want, finding awareness in what that is. And once you see that awareness, you start to get a new perception of your life and where you're going. And then those blocks or those patterns show themselves more and more. And what you teach is, or at least I do, but it sounds like most everyone here does, is that inner awareness and guidance, that they can go, oh my gosh, I'm doing that again. All right, I want this instead. And so that's where the mindset switch and change, that daily life that they really live and commit to and stand in their own integrity, is so important.
Thank you for sharing that. And it is, as you said, very important to committing to a daily practice and really evolving, if I can say, our mindset. Thank you. Rollie, you shared about your mental health challenges, especially when you experienced burnout. But now your work beautifully bridges Indigenous teachings, your Indigenous teachings, with your mental health practices. How do you guide clients to honor their culture and their spiritual roots whilst pursuing emotional wellness?
And that is so important, because so I am just exploring and learning about my culture, because I didn't get to grow up with it. My culture I've only been I've only had the blessings of being able to experience this in the last 20, maybe 20 years, possibly less of my life. And I'm in a place where I actually bridge between, so I have a grandson who's 2, a new grandbaby who's coming anytime. She's a little late, and my mom. And so being able to like bridge between those other 2 generations to be able to help teach, have the ability to be able to teach so that my grandchildren will have the opportunity to be able to live the life if they choose to. Whereas my mom, it's being able to help my mom learn some of the things that she's not been able to experience and learn. So I've had a very beautiful experience of being able to be that bridge, whereas typically you would learn from your mother and your grandmother, and whereas I am teaching the grandmother and now become a grandmother and teaching my grandchildren. And so like for me, it's like that bridge of connection and allowing them to be able to have that openness to be able to learn and being able to honor everyone where they're at. So anyone who comes into my circle or into my space is not, okay, you need to do this and you need to learn how to be able to do that, is where is it coming from for you? And I'm huge on saying take what you need and leave the rest. So if there's only a little bite-sized piece that fits for you right now, then only take that bite-sized piece and allow it to be able to grow and cultivate and be part of where it is. And so if your religion is what it is that drives you, then allow that to be your driving force, whatever it is that happens. And so for me, it's that spirituality, and having moved from, having grown up Roman Catholic, that was something that allowed me to be able to know that there was like something beyond me. And so when I had my children, I have 2 adult boys, and when I had my children, it was important to me to have them baptized, and not necessarily so that they had to follow the religion, but because I wanted them to know that there's something greater than us, that there's something bigger than who we are and what it is. And so they will have that ability of being able to learn whatever it is that they need to. And I know that I taught that lesson well, of having my kids figure out like where does that fit for them, because having gone to school at a Catholic school, my youngest, who is now a father and going to be a father for number 2. And so for him, he was in grade 4 or 5, and he was like really doubting, like, how does this work? Is there like really this whole institution that follows? And so it was like not allowing him, like not having anyone tell him yes or no, while still maintaining the rules of the school and rules of the church. And so it was like, you're allowed to question. And so I let the school know, so the principal knew, and the teacher knew that he was trying to figure things out, and I'm not stopping him from doing that. And so one of the exercises that he needed to do in catechism class was that they needed to draw God in their image. So however it is that they felt that God would look, then they had to draw that. Casey sat at his desk like, I don't believe that there's a God. And so he's sitting there, so he's sitting there not doing anything. So the teacher had pulled him out of the classroom and had a conversation with him and said, let's take a look at that case. Like Mom said, you still need to follow the rules. And so if you did believe, what would it be? And so he came home with this image of colors. And so it was just energy. And it was like, because at that point I was exploring my spirituality and learning more about my spirituality. And so here's this kid who's in grade 4 or 5, that he's now coming in with this image of energy that is coming in on his paper. And it was like, okay, so my kid is figuring out that there's something spiritual going on around him, and however that needed to flow for him was exactly where it needed to be. Being able to allow people to come into their own, wherever it is that looks like, following a religion or following a spiritual path, it doesn't matter. It's just really being able to hold into what is it that holds dear. And there's energy, there is like global energy that is there, that has nothing to do with us, that we have no power over.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. And I totally agree. There is that global energy. There is that energy field. And your son was very fortunate to experience that at a young age. And I know it helps when we can connect with our energy, because for me, our businesses are part of us. We are one and the same. We can't really separate them, even though it is good to shut the computer down and turn off the phone and all that and have me time. But I really believe that the energy that we're experiencing, that we have, directly impacts our business. So thank you for sharing that, Rollie, because it's a very fortunate foundation to experience that at a very young age. So thank you. And Jen, for you, coming from an engineering background or your corporate leadership, what personal shifts have you experienced when moving into your energy healing? And how can business owners really trust those inner nudgings?
I would say in the beginning, you have to listen. You have to really trust what is that intuition? What is that nudging? And as you move forward with that trusting, the more and more you trust, the more information that you gain. So sometimes people get stuck because the intuition that comes in can be going against their logic. And that's why I journal everything down and really, really see what happens. And I know for certain that as soon as I get that intuition nudge, I got to do it. I've got to go forth with it because it's the right thing to do, even if I can't logically explain why, but it always turns out to be the best. Yes, I hope that answered your question. You had asked something about shifts as well.
Yes, your own personal shifts. How did you experience your own personal shifts when you moved into energy healing and got out of the corporate world?
Yeah, it was first just studying Reiki. I worked with Bob Proctor, where I set a really large goal that I didn't know how to do, but you just take the action steps towards it. And I truly believe that. And it just streamlined me on a path that I would have never been able to figure out on my own. And it streamlined me to getting quantum energy healing. And the intuition was to go and meet healers at the pyramids in Mexico. And I didn't know anybody. So I went ahead and took the trip and went down there. And it was one of the most transformational trips that I have ever had, being around 20 energy healers in that healing, and also receiving a Mayan attunement and a cosmic attunement at that time. So the shifts in frequency and the frequencies that we hold in our bodies to help other people is phenomenal. And then it's just, how do you want to take that out into the world, and how do you want to express yourself? What are your talents? So you learn talents in more corporate is from where I came from, and you can still take those talents along and be able to express it in a certain way. And so that's why I chose the coaching route and then all the energy healing that I had learned. So there's been huge shifts all along the way in the last 4 years, for sure. Phenomenal ones.
And congratulations. Congratulations
Thank you.
on experiencing that and following your guidance and experiencing those energy shifts in all the things that we have to go through. Shifting that energy is really an important step for us to grow. Thank you. SARA, I'd love to go more into your story because, again, we know you've gone from Wall Street into being an entrepreneur and a traveler. But your work really blends motivation, storytelling, excellent storytelling, and being real or authenticity. How can, in your experience, how can storytelling become a powerful tool for business empowerment and connecting with other people?
I love this question. Kevin Leary of Shark Tank. I don't know if you know him, the bald guy. And he's on CNBC a lot too. I actually saw him near my apartment one time going up to the barber next door. I was like, hey, that's that guy. He said it on LinkedIn. He said, like Jen, I was trained as an engineer as well in undergrad. And he said, engineers, I need to hire them as storytellers. He said that on camera. And I was like, bingo, there you go. I think in the era of AI and everything that's coming to a head, the power of creation, which is the God spirit, is still going to be mission critical. And creation comes from storytelling. It comes from speaking from the heart. It comes from being your authentic self. It empowers you. And I think storytelling is the way to help people see concepts, or maybe get an area of their life unstuck, or it sparks curiosity in their heart. And I know Jen mentioned seeing pyramids in Mexico. Those are my favorite. I was in Teotihuacan and I've seen Chichen Itza as well. Beautiful megalithic structures. But I love to share that experience so others can see too. So it plants a seed in their mind to say, I can do this too. I've traveled to 43 countries around the world. I've gone scuba diving to remote parts of the world. I consider myself a travel storyteller. I'd like to showcase what I see and really where the megalithic structures have been calling me. And now I see I'm a grid worker, and that's why I've been called around the world. I'm heading to Machu Picchu again this July. I feel called to go again. So for me, it's putting a spark. It's allowing for people to be empowered, to say, hey, I can do this. I always wanted to do this. I never thought I could, but now I can, because the power of storytelling, power of sharing and showcasing, and exemplifying no fear. You could get on a plane, you could do this. It's not as bad as you think, and there aren't as many barriers as you may seem to think. So I think storytelling is here to stay. It was there way back when, 5,000 years ago around the campfire, and it's going to continue to be here as we navigate the new world of AI.
We can choose to use AI to help us with the storytelling as well, but to really connect with our inner selves and share that passion with others is such a marvelous thing to do. So thank you so much. And Cassandra, for you, I know your focus is helping spiritual entrepreneurs to gain clarity and also to conquer that fear of stepping out into their own business. But what first steps do you recommend for anyone who feels stuck, especially in the now what? There is so much to do, but now what do I do? How do you, or what do you recommend that they start with?
Yeah, this is such a powerful question. I feel like in our journeys in life, we all go through now what moments, whether it's starting a business, career transitions, even in the day-to-day, there's that lack of clarity that we have. And I feel like all of us have an inner knowing that we can choose to tap into, and that's our intuition. The I don't know is something that comes up when we're about to leave our comfort zone and get into the unknown. That's the way our brain is protecting us. So once you start to become friends with fear and change your relationship with fear, I feel like that allows for a whole different experience when you are doing things outside of your comfort zone and going on the spiritual experience of creating a business. So I find like the practical tool that I share with all my clients, I like to call it the circle and start method, which is you grab a pen and paper, calling it old school, and you write down with the most intuitive, connected version of yourself, maybe post meditation or something like that, writing down all the necessary steps that you feel like are necessary to achieve whatever it is that you're seeking most in that moment, in no particular order, just getting things out of our head and into the physical. And then what I love to say is to circle the first one that you feel called to start with and number off 3 more. So you have a plan, because I find the how is what stops people most. So you start with your circled one, you get some momentum going, and then when that's complete, you move to the next one, the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, and you keep that momentum going. Then when those 3 are complete, then you number off 3 more. So it creates this kind of snowball effect in our ability to take action. And it's really empowering because you're starting to cross things off your list. You're starting to feel more confident in your ability to actually move the needle forward. So if you're having a now what moment, it's tapping into your intuition and getting all your ideas out on a piece of paper and just starting.
Thank you. And that is so very true. It's allowing that space, because so many entrepreneurs, myself included, if I'm not careful, you get caught up in this crazy world and we cut off our intuition. But when we just stop and allow that space to getting back in touch with intuition, then, as you said, Cassandra, magic can happen. So thank you very much. Lesley, I'd love to come back to you and ask you for your experience again, that like many entrepreneurs, many business owners feel torn between pursuing profits, because we all need profits, we need to make money, but also staying true to their values and service. So how have you navigated this?
How have I navigated the pursuing of profits or the money and staying true to myself?
Yes.
Basically, I feel that it's energy. It's all energy. It's all one and the same. Uh, Many of us have been taught that the pursuit of money is bad. Money as an energy isn't bad at all. And one of my favorite sayings is, I love money and money loves me. And it's not about the material things. It is about when you have abundance flowing into your life, then you have more resources to help more people. Because if you don't have that abundance flowing into your life and your business, you don't have a business. You don't have a way to get the word out. You don't have a way to connect to all those people that you desire to connect with. It is like our intuition. All of us here are saying those nudges, those whispers inside of us have propelled us forward. And they are the things that also show the ideas one after another when you're really fulfilling your mission to be here. And I think of it as a mission, a vision. It is that purpose in life of what source gave you. When you tap in and trust and just open up, things start coming one after another. And I believe what is for you will not pass you by.
Yes.
Just keep creating and putting it out there, and being in a great network helps you, like this one, to have contact with other people who've been there, but who also have that same mindset that, yes, we're going for it because this is an abundant world.
Thank
So
you.
abundant, and it's waiting for us.
Yes, and it is very true, and thank you for sharing. It is certainly an abundant world, and we just have to tap into that. And again, I agree with what you said about the energy. So thank you, Lesley. It's appreciated. And Rollie, I'd like to come back to you very briefly and quickly, because again, from your past experience, entrepreneurs often wear many hats, and I know you do. As you said, you're about to be a grandmother again, and you're a mother, and you do different businesses as well. But how do you avoid overwhelm and maintaining your focus on what truly matters?
One of the things that I do that is really important, and I need to sometimes make sure to do, which is one of the things that I actually did last night, is to make sure to be able to block off time for me. And so making sure that I have that time where I can actually reground and reconnect and do the things that I need to do. And so, for example, when I am hosting a weekend women's retreat, is that I go the day before everyone else arrives so that I have time to be able to like just be in the space. And then I leave the day after so that again I have that time to be able to like just be in the space, but doing that just on a regular basis. So making sure, so the other day I was actually figuring out, okay, where am I going to plant my flowers, and being able to connect with my flower beds. And that's something that last year was amazing because I got to do with my grandson, and be able to do that again this year will be something that's really great. But just being able to like just be in nature and really connecting. I walk in my bare feet in my yard all the time. So as soon as it's warm enough, right now we still have snow, but as soon as it's like there's no more snow and the ground's not frozen, the freezing cold, then that's what I'm going to be doing. And so I put my sandals on yesterday and I was like, yes, I'm wearing sandals today. And so just being able to have that opportunity to be able to be in that space and in that energy is really important. But scheduling it, we need to make sure that we schedule it in, because if we don't, and when we are in overwhelm, being able to reach out to our clients and saying, hey, I need to take a step back. And because again, that is something that we practice, right? So we actually tell them that they need to practice. So it's really about practicing what we preach. And it's like, if I am in overwhelm because of life, because things happen, then I need to make sure that when I recognize it, because sometimes we just get busy in the spin of life. And so then I need to be able to say, no, just a minute. I need to go back and look at my schedule, figure out where do I need to readjust, and make sure to take that time for myself. So really important for us to do as entrepreneurs.
Thank you, and I agree with you. It's definitely important to take time for ourselves, because if we don't, we get overwhelmed and we can't help others and our businesses collapses as well. So thank you for sharing that, Rollie. Jen, just coming back to you very quickly, and I'd love to know, what advice would you give to entrepreneurs who are struggling to find that sense of personal fulfillment in their businesses?
The sense of personal fulfillment. I
Yes.
think it really has to be, again, going to what is your goal in life? And that is just relaxing and really doing a deep search within. What is it that you like to do? What is it that you're here for? Just get started, because things will start to reveal what it is that you're here to do. And keeping aligned with that, keeping your alignment with what your purpose is, what your goals are, and just moving forward. More and more answers will be revealed.
Thank
All
you.
questions have an answer. You just have to wait for them.
All questions definitely have.
Sometime.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
And it's
Mhm.
true. It's true. All questions have an answer. And quite often, those answers are within, when we take that time to connect to that energy that everyone's been talking about, and just listening to those whispers within us, because they're our answers. Thank you. And Sarah, for you, I'd love to know, how do you overcome self-doubt? I know we talked a little bit about it before, but when you're introducing a bold new idea in this marketplace, like your books and being actually in Bold and Adventures, how did you overcome self-doubt?
About Emboldened Adventures in the book, or in general in life?
Just in general, how do you overcome self-doubt when introducing something new?
Yeah, so I thank you for that question. I think about it as pre and post surrender. Pre-surrender is that old world I was in, and post-surrender is where I am now. And there's a lot of self-doubt in the old world. That old world wants you to give your power away to the external. They don't want you to go within and be empowered and think for yourself. They want you to toe the line, be complicit, conform, and do what your boss says, right? And so that to me is very confusing, because you never know if you're doing anything right. There's always conversations that get lost, or emails that aren't read, and people are focused on 10 million things, and you think what the marching orders are to get this project done, and then it turns out that's not what they wanted, and last minute you got to scramble and change everything. So in the world I lived in, it was very frenetic and very not organized in some ways, and a lot of kind of shoot from the hip and haphazard, and almost full of stress and pressure and last minute decision making, and that's coming from the top, that's funneling down to the bottom. And so as a result, you're in this murky waters of self-doubt. You don't know what's true, what's going on, and you don't have agency. You just are reactionary. And then as a result, you take that personally. I did something wrong, or I'm not enough. There's all that feelings of inadequacy, and your bonus is tied to performance. And then you didn't get a good bonus this year. Oh crap, I'm not good enough. I'm stupid. So there's a lot of that sort of mentality that's in that old world. So of course there's self-doubt, and of course I embodied it, because that's the world I grew up in. Now I am the master of my own domain. I have sovereignty. I am in charge of my life, and I'm letting it flow now. I'm trusting in the unfolding. So there is no doubt, although last night I did have a moment, as I mentioned, but it was more of an identity crisis. It was still some of those old fragments of energy, of that identification of that old person, trying to fit square peg round hole into this new authentic me that's going about it in a different way. but I'm still applying some old tactics to this new world. So there was a little bit of that here and there that still pops in. It's the dark side, right? And it's a flip side. My advisor described it as a piece of paper. She said, the paper is going to always have two sides. You can't avoid it. There's always going to be a dark side. So you're going to have to learn to balance that. And she's 100% on the mark. So I think that's the answer in this kind of post-surrender when it comes to self-doubt, if that even nugget comes up now, is it's the shadow and it will always be there. And we got to learn to work with it and honor it, but know that we're going to think positively and we're going to forge ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. And I love what you said, especially with the shadow. Learning to work with it and honor it. We all have those dark sides. We've all been through those experiences of doubt and imposter syndrome and everything else. But it's really just honoring and holding space for that. So thank you, Sarah. And Cassandra, I'd love to know for you, in your business, have you ever faced a major failure, if you would like to share? And what actions did you actually do to help you recover?
Yeah, it's interesting, this word failure. I think when I started my business, I was trying to avoid failure as much as I could. If it was even saying the wrong word on a live video that I was making, like I would try and be so eloquent and get into my head about things. And then in my journey, I learned that there was no such thing as failure. I redefined it because that was something that was holding me back. I really started to begin to understand and define that word really based on lessons and expectations that were not met. So there were many times in my journey that I may have set enormous goals and maybe I didn't hit them or surpass them. But instead of getting caught up in the old loops that I used to have of, oh, I'm a failure, people are going to think I'm a failure, I started to uncover what are the lessons from this experience? Why is this divine? Why is this happening for me, not to me? And by me redefining that word and really embracing why is this happening to me, for me, not to me, it really changed how I was running my business. And it wasn't making it so much of a roller coaster ride. It was something that was leaning into a lot of themes that these other ladies have talked about, a lot of trust, a lot of surrender into the process. So from the outside world and people that believe in define failure as failure, there may have been plenty of failures along my way or unmet expectations, but I've really tried to take an empowered approach every step of the way, with whether it was the highest highs or what could feel like more darker moments, as an opportunity to find the lessons of the experience that I've been going on.
Thank you for sharing. Really appreciate it. And again, I'd just like to take a moment to thank everyone for sharing all your passions and your wisdom. And as we come to the top of our panel discussion, the top of our hour, I'd like to go around and ask everyone one last question. And starting off with you, Lesley, do you have any tips or techniques that you would like to share, anything else, on how our listeners and people who are watching us can really ignite their business and empower ourselves and our future?
Great question. How to empower yourself and your future. I think the greatest tip that I usually go through with people is to breathe. To really breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. And there's different kinds of breathing techniques to go through. But the simplest one is to really get centered when you breathe in deeply to the count of 4. Maybe you hold it at the top at the count of 4. Then breathe out for the count of 4. Hold at the bottom for the count of 4. Because what you're doing is you're regulating your whole body system. And when you take your hand and you place it on your heart, your attention goes to where your hand is. And so you're centering your whole nervous system at that point. And no matter what's going on in life, you can always take a step back. You can always take that moment to become present with you and hold onto your heart, because no matter what, the brain may give us a story, but the heart tells us the truth. And then the intuition plays as well, just under that from the gut. So it's a great way to tap into who you are, where you are, and to listen to your intuition. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. And I can just imagine what a world we would live in if we all did that on a regular daily basis, is just to breathe, to really focus on our breathing and our heart. So thank you. And before we go on, Lesley, would you like to share a quick thing about your business, and do you have any offers?
Quick thing about my business. Yes, I do have an offer. Like I said, I work in the shamanic realm, so it's journey work a lot of times, but I also do a lot of guided meditations to your body and what you're feeling within your body. Right now, for the month of May, I have what I call a small bite. We want a taste of what a shamanic journey is like, or a session is like for me, with me, I should say, then that's my small bite. And you can find it on Facebook or Instagram, because tomorrow, I don't know when this is coming out, but being the first of the month, it will be out over and over again. You can always send me a message saying, I'd like to give that a try. But yeah, that's a special that I run this month.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. We will be putting all your links below in the comments. And Rollie, what about you? As we wrap up, do you have any tips or techniques that our listeners can ignite their business with or empower their future? And also, I'd love for you to tell us if you have any offers, and also your fabulous tribe within Sacred You.
I really want to add into or tap into what it is that Lesley said around the breath. So working with anxiety, we can't breathe. So like when we're in the middle of a panic attack, that's the very first thing that disappears for us is our breath. When our mind starts to disappear, right? So like being able to come back into our own bodies and being into that breath. And so really being able to tie that into what Lesley just said. But to add to that is being able to get out into nature. So like it doesn't matter where we are, and it doesn't matter how busy we are, we still have nature. So even if it's literally just standing on our front step and just being able to soak in the sun, or feeling the air, the wind on a blistery day, or having the snow fall on our heads, like whatever it is that's going on, we all have the ability of being able to tap into nature, even if it's only for a few minutes. And so being able to use what Lesley just said in terms of being able to tap into our breath, standing up and just being able to connect to nature. If we can like really get into nature, feel a tree, get into the grass, that's even better. But even just something as simple as like letting whatever element is going on around us be able to help us bring us back into our body is so super important, because that is where when we're starting to spiral or starting to spin, it allows us to be able to get right back into that moment. Petting our cat, petting our dog. Melissa's on right now, she has horses that she works with, and so just being able to go and connect to whatever brings us back to nature in any sense of the word. And in terms of things that I'm offering, I have things all the time that I'm offering. So there's lots of different things. One of the newest things that I've been doing, because I generally do group work, and but I've been offering one-to-one sessions where we're actually working with moon medicine. And so it's Moon Medicine Journey, where I'm actually using the energy of whichever new moon starts, and then we actually work together for 30 days, or 28 and a half days technically, to be able to work with the energy of the phases that are actually going on. And it's individualized based on the month that we're working on, but also working on the wherever it is that we're at within our own selves and our own whatever it is that our goals are. So that's one thing that I'm offering that's new. But the Moon Medicine Circle is actually so important. So that is through Sacred You, brand new, 2 weeks in. So we do it on Friday evenings Eastern time at 6 p.m. And so then relative to wherever it is that people are around the world, 8 a.m. I think in Australia time, and on Saturday morning. And so, but it's about being able to tap into what is the energy that's happening in this moment, and how can we actually bring it forward into how we're doing things. And so being able to so what I do is I actually share some lessons about like how to be able to tap into that. Breathing usually comes into play, because we get to bring our breath everywhere. So breathing is usually one of the techniques that come forward in some way, shape, or form. but it's really being able to like just tap into that. Yeah, so but really the moon medicine circles I'm really excited about doing on Friday evenings. So
Yes. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much. And again, we are honoured that you have brought your gifts and your passion and your whole wisdom about moon medicine to Sacred You. And I'm really excited about your tribe too, that's coming up in just a couple of days. Your next one. Thank you, Rollie. Jen, what about you? Do you have any last minute tips or techniques that people can follow or implement to empower themselves and their business? And do you have any
Yeah, I
offers?
think that Lesley. Yeah, I agree with Lesley and Rollie, their techniques. And it's really both the breath, the nature, meditation. It's really about presence, being in the now moment. So the calmness of mind. And I would just like to remind people who are working on businesses is that we are all divine creators. And whatever's going on the inside, whatever we're telling ourselves, that's what we're seeing on the outside. So we're literally creating our reality. Even from a business standpoint, we can create our business in magical ways. So just to remember their divine essence, and they are able to be, do, or have anything. So that would be my tips.
Thank you. And what about any offers that you have?
Yeah, so I have a 30-day quantum leap challenge, which is free. That can be, it's on my website, but it's free for people to really understand that they can create their reality, and it gives them tools and techniques every day if they can just follow it for 30 days to really bring in some greatness, some beauty into their life, and also some free tools and techniques on energy. If you're curious about Reiki energy, what is it and how can I use it? All of that's available for people.
Thank you for sharing. And again, we will be putting all your links down below this video. So for everyone who is watching, click on them and reach out to these amazing women. Sarah, for the last time for today's panel, do you have any other tips or techniques that you would like to share that people can use to empower their future? And what are you offering?
Yes, happy to offer the tip. The tip is to leave room for the magic. And what I mean about that, so when I first spoke on this esteemed panel, I mentioned how my old world was very formulaic. It was an analysis of a business structure and the cash flow structure and the financial model and whatnot. And that old world did not have any wiggle room. It was very structured and it was very kind of mechanical. And it didn't allow for ebbs and flows and creativity and sparks of synchronicity and other sort of positive things that potentially can come help make this deal a reality and close for a success. I mentor a lot of students at my alma mater and all my engineering students, and just like what I was. And I remind the students to leave room for the magic. They're very heavily scheduled with their classes and their workflow and their prelims and their finals, that you have to take time, as we are saying, to enjoy the blue sky and sit on the campus lawn and take time on the grass and hear the birds. So you're not burnt out by the end of the time you are there for 4 years. Yeah, that is, I think, a very important call out for a tip is you can be structured in what you do as a business owner, but you have to have a vision and allow for room for growth and magic. So that's it. As for an offer, two of them. One, you can go to emboldenadventures.com/book. And if you add your email address, you can get the prologue to my book that's coming out later this year. Very excited about my true story travel adventure memoir. It's part of a series, an Embolden Adventures transformational series of books based on my experiences of leaving the Matrix in 2019 and moving forward to today. It's a 3-volume series that I'm writing. And also, too, I'm creating a Be Emboldened program. So I'm beta testing this program right now. It's an opportunity for spiritual, professional, and personal transformation, mentorship, and encouragement. So email me, Sarah, SARA, at emboldenadventures.com, which is right here, emboldenadventures.com, and reach out, and I'll be happy to talk with you and offer an opportunity here. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will be putting your links in the comments. Thank you for that. And I look forward to your book coming out. Thank you so much. And Cassandra, before we say farewell, do you have any tips or techniques that people can use to empower their business and their lives? And then would you like to finish off with any offers that you have?
I would love to. So my tip would be start simple and then scale. Start simple and then scale. Because when we start a business, we have so many different ideas, posting on social media, Facebook groups, offers, books, podcasts, the whole thing. I can think when I started my business, I had journals filled with different ideas. But the more that you can just choose one and build consistency and then add on the others, the more consistency you'll have in the long run. So today is the 6-year anniversary of me starting my social media journey, starting my business as an intuitive life coach. And I just started with thank you. Just doing one Facebook Live video every single week. And it's been almost weekly since. Life happens, but almost weekly since. And the reason that I was able to build this consistency and show up no matter what has been because I started simple and then I scaled along the way. So don't have your hands in all the cookie jars and spinning all the plates. Just simplicity is key, because the more consistency you have, the more credibility you have, the more impact you have, and the more clients that you will have to make that ripple effect in the world that you're destined to have. And when it comes to connecting with me, my offers, free gifts, go to CassandraRosa.com. There's a free gift in particular that I want to highlight, which is called the Confident Entrepreneur Journal, which really allows you to go through the 22 different journal prompts and uncover what is stopping you from finally starting your business and going all in. So I'm sure she'll share the links, and my Facebook group as well is something that I'm very consistent with. It's called Impactful Female Entrepreneurs. It's totally free. Come and join us and be a part of the community.
Thank you. We will be putting those links below. Thank you ever so much for everyone for joining us. And before we say farewell, just like to give a quick opportunity for Sheila and Melissa. If you'd want to come on camera and share anything, you are most welcome to. Or not.
Hi. I missed some of it because I have young kids here, so I missed part of it, but I got some good chunks of the talk, and it was really inspiring with the stories, but I really enjoyed the parts that I got. Will there be a replay at all?
There will be.
Okay,
We'll
perfect.
be able to link into the replay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. It has been an honor and things, and I'm not sure if Sheila can join us or not, because she did have very limited power before. So again, thank you, Lesley. Thank you, Rollie and Jan and Sarah and Cassandra, for a wonderful panel discussion. And of course, like I said, my name's Sophia. For everyone who's watching, do check out sacredyou.love. That's the letter U.love for everything that we have to offer. Our special interest tribes that Rollie is an amazing facilitator at her Moon Medicine Circle. And we have about 20 other tribes that you can come and join us. Come and join us in our village. That is our free membership. You get lots of bonuses when you join that. And just come and connect. And I just want to, again, honor everyone for joining us today. And we will see you next time.